Sovereign Broadcast.
Good evening. And this just in. Despite all that is going on with the Trump administration, there are still treasonous acts being committed in our nation. Did you know that the legal bar society got dissolved in 2008 and is now operating as a private company under the Dun and Bradstreet? This says a lot to the effects of those working as lawyers for the bar and attorney generals and the courts in itself. And it kind of puts to question where do they receive their authority to invoke any order or challenge on or upon the community. Therefore, stating void judgment. On the other hand, we have formal notices, orders upon the court, right to pursue criminal prosecution by common law court of record, trial by jury. We know that the courts have been operating in maritime law, and it is opposite of what we know as natural. The information is coming in that the Biden administration has been sending money all across the world, helping terrorist groups and other organizations and corporations rather than helping the American people. Biden has sent another $400 million to Ukraine for immediate needs from the Pentagon. We know that the biggest scam in life is paying taxes on the money you make, paying taxes on the money you spend, and paying taxes on things you own that you already paid taxes on with already taxed money. Where is this taxes going? Of course, people are put out of public buildings all the time trying to stand up for their rights. Buildings that are paid by citizens' tax money. Again, these are all the things that need to be looked into, the fraudulence that's behind this, and to keep these people in power to pursue citizens that stand up for their rights. 15,000 federal employees across various agencies owe approximately $1.5 billion in overdue taxes. So it's already a fraud with these corporations, but the corporations get away with it all the time, but not regular poor citizens or Americans, right? This is known as a de facto government. We must include that letting the people know. And again, there are letters you can view online, even a letter from Pope Francis to Obama. He issued to all members of the domestic police forces. You can view that online. Now, let us understand private law. Private law states when the United States government engages in contracts in private law, it lowers to the same level as any other individual. So again, this authority, right? Where does it go? Does it disappear? When you catch judges doing misconduct or the appearance of this government agency refuses to accurately decide the truth with integrity, police shouldn't be able to police themselves if tyranny is supposed. The Judicial Tenure Commission, 36th District Court in Michigan, all these places, all these courts are guilty of this. They violate the 14th Amendment, which says, "Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws." There's many other laws they're affecting, of course. And if we would take the time to think about everything I'm saying right now, of course I have more to cover. And you see the audacity of our government that they had the nerve to get rid of TikTok or to mess with TikTok, to even think to mess with TikTok. The pouring of the information, they felt that it was a major effect upon our government with that. But there's a lot of things that could be addressed, things that could be changed, things that we still need to fight for, than to be messing with some social media app. It's really ridiculous. So again, every judge, magistrate are illegally practicing law, and they all are squatters on our land. You can view that on the brief history of barristers and the ends of court hub pages. On the day of November 9th, 2023, they discussed that. The United States has a patent trademark office of weather manipulation. Manipulating, harming the citizens, harming people in America. Have we done anything about this? Weather manipulation. We see that your hand is on it, America. We see your patent. Bill Gates, 2009 hurricane patent. Why is Bill Gates still operating freely? Why isn't this man behind bars? A federal judge has rejected a request to temporarily halt Florida's law banning lab-grown meat. And I must mention that all court officers and officials are required to provide information as found on HM Courts and Tribunal Service, their website. Government officials are held accountable according to the 18 USC 3571 and other UCC codes. There's a public notice and penalty fines for their trampling on the rights of citizens. There are case laws that have been recognized by the Supreme Court that somehow the courts try to manage to throw under the rug, and the judge's duty is to hear and see all evidence, and without it being even said, they should know the law and what it requires of them, upholding the Constitution in their oath of office, right? we are interested in these bonds and the CUSIP numbers that's being set in place, rendering victims of the court where this money is going and how it's being used against the people. They have to answer for those crimes. It's fraudulent. Have you ever wondered what makes a court different from a casino? I mean, with the CUSIP numbers and the bonds that's out there on the floor, they're basically gambling at the victim's expense. Whoever loses in court, or win at that matter, the case number itself becomes a CUSIP. But anyhow, I want to mention that France became the first country to force all supermarkets to give unsold food to the needy. Don't you think the rest of the world needs this? So congratulations to France on that. I just hope that America can reach that point. Moving along. U.S. Code 12203 prohibits retaliation and coercion. No person shall discriminate against any individual because such individual has opposed any act or practice made unlawful by this chapter, or because such individual made a charge, testified, assisted, or participated in any manner in an investigation under this chapter. So again, this is what these cops do. Those who enforce the court's rulings and go about giving these fake citations and getting money out of people because of a traffic stop. Yeah, they threaten you. Bullies on the road. That's what they are. Okay, listen to this. And this goes right along with our 14th Amendment right. But the Supreme Court ruled that municipalities cannot exert any acts of ownership and control over property that is not owned by them. And if you don't have insurance, you notice that for your car or anything like that, or a license or anything like that, they'll try to tow away your vehicle. The vehicle you paid for, your property. Yeah. Now, as far as these vaccines, they have been making us farm animals, basically. Vaccine and pumping us with stuff, which is really crazy. And they was talking about in executive orders, January 20th, 2025, about abolishing all vaccine mandates. Repeal 1986 vaccine immunity law, ban fluoridation everywhere, ban toxic ingredients in food, recognize vaccine injury and death, ban GMO food. This was the talk. We're looking forward to those orders going in place. The health insurance CEO compensations. These CEOs of these health organizations have been paid off our misery, keeping us sick. Not one of them found a cure to anything or allowing us to know the cure to all these diseases they got out here, right? They want to keep us coming back like kids wanting to go to the candy shop. It's ridiculous. Most FDA heads since 2006 have transitioned into high-paid big pharma roles after leaving office. Also coming in, top scientists sound the alarm. Dead humans being pumped into U.S. food supply. Yep, so again, these attempts to force or coerce vaccinations on people constitutes a crime against humanity. Universal Declaration of Bioethics and Human Rights, 2005, they are in violation of that. Of course, we know that they are pumping chemtrails in the air. Chemtrails must be stopped. This is genocide. This is poison. This is murder by the United Nations. This element within our society that is doing this must be stopped. And FBI Chief Ted, he calls out the UN on that. Okay, the 12 deadly viruses that plague the world, they say that they own and run the Fed. These people are Lord Jacob D. Rothschild, the Rockefeller Group, Henry Kissinger, the list goes on. George Soros, Larry Summers. You can go look them up. 12 deadly viruses. There's 12 of them. So Senator Nancy Schaefer, we already heard about, she gave a speech exposing CPS as legal kidnappers. And next thing you know, she's found shot in the head. Husband found shot in the chest and double suicide. Well, out of all I've mentioned so far, you should already know that the government is not for us. They're not for the people. And just then, as of September 27th, 2024, the U.S. military has been granted use of lethal force on U.S. citizens. One thing that's not being said by our government, by any of our president-elects so far, they're not telling the truth about 31 U.S.C. 3123. All debts are paid. All debts are paid. We are the beneficiaries. The government are trustees. Trustees pay debts. Beneficiaries do not. Thus, the government obligations are not taxable. These obligations of the United States under Title 31, 3124 exemption from taxation. We are to be exempt from taxation, but yet they keep clouding our minds, causing us stress over taxes. We need to be educated in our schools about making our people wealthy in this world. We don't talk about trust, how to start a trust, how to keep a business going, how to get allodial titles, how to own and keep our land, right? But yet they're brutalizing people and killing people on the streets for no apparent reason, just for control. Justice for Ronald Green. Louisiana State Police killed him and said he died in a car accident. Elon Musk, enemy of open borders, launched his career working illegally. Investigation confirms Elon Musk and brother Kimball were illegal immigrants. They dropped out of school while on student visas and began working without permits. Very interesting. And the Trump administration is going through this illegal immigrant facade, and he's working with one. And of course, his wife is one. However, if you're here illegally, there is a penalty for that, right? Stock up now. They are not predicting food shortages, they are planning them. We are under attack within. Sad to say, but that's our government. So, we learned about debt belonging to the government. You even hear a little bit of UCC commercial codes being taught in this broadcast. But did you know that UCC 3.301, the financing of an automobile by a bank was not a consumer loan transaction, where the bank was only the assignee of the automobile sales contract and therefore acted illegally in taking security in addition to the purchased automobile. First Net Bank versus LaJoie, Ocala. That's case law. Even dealing with purchasing vehicles, fraudulence going on. Money and banking. All banks are intermediaries. They never lend you a dime. They go between the public and private side of the accounting and lend you your own money. Established also in the UCC 9-311, 9-312, and 9-313. Did you know it's illegal for a collection agency to buy your debt and come after for it? After 180 days of your debt being in collections, you no longer owe that debt. It says study FCRA, Fair Credit Reporting Act law, to your advantage and know how to deal with collection companies. Yeah, so when you take out a loan and you pay on it, or you end up missing a payment, because that's what they're betting on anyway, they end up selling the debt. Once they do that, come on now. Going back to old Jim Crow ways, right? Let's talk about slavery. Slave codes. Denied the right to vote. Denied the right to a trial by jury. Could not testify against whites. Children could not attend public schools. Had to carry passes to prove that they were free. Could not gather without a white person. No groups of more than 3 Negroes could gather. All these things, and up until the civil rights era and beyond, African Americans are still waiting on reparations. And it has to be the talk. There's this talk, and there always has been, police immunity. Somehow they're protected in the courts, and they feel they need more immunity from when they do step on people's rights or kill them, right? And should this even be a thought in our government's head? But of course, since we know the government is against us, they'll roll with it, right? But listen to this. Trumaine White, lynched by Liberty, Mississippi police. Lynched. October 4th, 2024. Right? For throwing a piece of paper towel out the window. He was a truck driver and a father. Killed for that. Yeah. This is crazy, y'all. Private prisons suing states for millions if they don't stay full. Low crime rates, bad for business for white-owned private prisons. They demand states keep them full. They're betting on prisoners. White-owned. And you still feel that racism is not involved in this system? Right? They're betting on prison mates. They have to keep them full. This is how they make their income. There are no judicial courts in America, and there has not been since 1789. Judges do not enforce statutes and codes. Executive administrators enforce statutes and codes. There have not been any judges in America since 1789. FRC versus GE. That's case law. Keller versus PE. Check it out. And so they have us all believing that their statutes and codes were written for us, when really they were written for them and their employees. It's like the rules that Walmart has for themselves and their employees. A statute is not a law. A code is not a law. A concurrent or joint resolution of legislature is not law. All codes, rules, and regulations are for government authorities only, not human creators in accord with God's laws or Elohim's laws. All codes, rules, and regulations are unconstitutional and lacking due process of law. And these are case laws. Rodriguez versus Ray Donovan, U.S. Department of Labor. Why no Article 3 courts? In 1861, the southern states walked out of Congress. Congress ceased to have a quorum, and Lincoln ordered them back under executive authority. In 1871, they set up a corporation in the District of Columbia called United States. Since then, Congress has been operating under executive authority, no lawful authority. So that's why there's no lawful Article 3 courts. Check this out. Ben Gates, August 3rd, 2006. Lawyers and attorneys are not licensed to practice law. The nature of lawyers crafted in America as per the United States Supreme Court. The practice of law cannot be licensed by any state. Scherer versus Board of Bar Examiners. Case law. Calling them out, y'all. See, the government is betting on you not to know your rights, not to know law. So they can constantly take your freedoms and call it a privilege. Murdoch versus Penn. No statute shall convert a liberty into a privilege license it or attach or impose a charge for a right. Shuttlesworth versus Birmingham. If the state converts a liberty into a privilege, the citizen can engage without impunity. It's our right. We're protected under these rights. This is why government was established, to protect and secure us our rights. So we do know that the United States of America is a corporation. The company number is 139435579, just to put it out there. You can even find their DUNS number on Duns and Bradstreet, which means they're a corporation. And here's the rules for a corporation. A corporation can neither practice law nor hire lawyers to carry on the business of practicing law for it. That's People versus California, Protective Corp. Case law. And here we are exposing these people, man, over and over again. And it's treason that they deliberately break these violations, cause these violations, and break the law. Don't forget you have rights. Your First Amendment right, your Fourth Amendment right, Fifth and Sixth Amendment, and 14th Amendment. Those are powerful amendments you should remember. Go look them up. No, wait, I ain't done. Any counterfeit or coin, obligation, security, or other article or anything represented to be or intimated or held out to be such counterfeit article for the purpose of executing such scheme, attempting so in the places in post office or authorized for mail matter, they're breaking 18 USC 1341. Violation. Hold. The Social Security number belongs to the SSA, and anything purchased with that identifier number is an obligation of the United States. 18 USC 8 means that anyone attempting to collect a debt from you is guilty of the False Claims Act, FCA 31 USC 3729. Again, showing the fraud, showing them these people, the government is guilty. Aren't we the people? We should be tired by now. Aren't you fed up with the schemes? We have a right to know law. We have a right to know the facts. We have the right to know. We should set up an affidavit. We have a right to know. We don't give these people consent to trample upon our rights. So these court officers are warring against the Constitution. You got to say that loud and proud. They are. We're exposing them. I'm exposing them. Government officials can be held accountable. Violation of oath of office, $250,000 according to 18 USC 3571. Many other fines. We are up against the United States corporation. People versus merchants. A corporation can neither practice law nor hire lawyers to carry on the business of practicing law, as stated before. And you can go and read up the notices to all workers and employees regarding the possession and use of Social Security numbers. Let's look into the RICO Act. United States versus Guest. Case law. If a state participates at all in a conspiracy, it has violated the 14th Amendment with regard to any individuals whose rights are infringed based on the constitutional right to travel. State of Michigan, all states that violate the Constitution, you have been put on notice. This video puts you on notice. Jurisdictions. Reports will lie to you about jurisdictions and pull you in their jurisdiction. There are 3 jurisdictions water, air, land. Possibly 4. Fire, right? But water, air, land, right? In maritime law, they operate on the water. They operate on the sea. But the supreme law of the land is not maritime. It's not what the courts go by. Right now, taxpayers should know the names of every government official, employee who has signed the NDA and the entity that had them sign the NDA. This secrecy breeds corruption. No employees of the government where taxpayers pay their wages should be allowed to sign NDAs. Let's talk about that. Let's change some policies on that, right? Let's change some laws and get some bills started on that. Let's start some executive orders on that, right? Why are you still paying taxes? We demand that these officials be held accountable for their actions and be dealt with by the highest pinnacle of the law. It is imperative that justice is served and that these terrorists posing as government officials are brought to justice. No justice, no peace. We will not stand idly by while our constitutional rights are violated and our country is betrayed by those who are supposed to protect it. Okay, there's a breach of contract by violating the U.S. Constitution, defrauding the American people with taxation without representation, failure to secure the border, failure to address endemic corruption, failure to address election interference, failure to register an agent of a foreign country, questionable loyalty to the United States, partnering with corporations and foreign entities at the expense of the American people, mismanagement and failure to protect the country's resources, failure to protect the American people from monopolies and corporate corruption. Come on, we can go on and on. All these people are in violation. Inspector generals, special counsel, government accountability, civil rights organizations, media. Did you know that a woman named Barbara O'Neill sued the FDA for $68 million for gatekeeping their documents that clearly show how the food we eat daily is poisoning us? Just 5 days later, she got arrested at her wellness retreat for leaking these documents. Pfizer has been in business for 175 years and hasn't cured one single disease. Let that sink in. Well, moving on, people. World Health Organization officially confesses COVID shots cause monkeypox. Wow. Petition to recall all elected officials who do not serve you. House Republicans rally against UN and World Health Organization to protect American sovereignty. House Republicans hold press briefing about us sovereignty and the World Health Organization. Amendable. Forever chemicals in your toilet paper might give you cancer. Just think. So again, as you can see, these courts and these officials are breaking 18 U.S.C. 1001, 42 U.S.C. 408, 18 U.S.C. 241, 242, H.J.R. 192, the 14th, 6 Amendments, Corpus Delicti, 12 CFR 102.6.23, 18 U.S.C. 3571, 18 U.S.C. 1621, Sua Sponte, 12 CFR 226.3, 28 U.S.C. 1446, 8 U.S.C. 1503, 15 U.S.C. 1611, Quantime, 5 U.S.C. 3331, 28 U.S.C. 1746, 15 U.S.C. 2, Plain Writing Act of 2010, and the list goes on, people. Yes, so I want to reinstate some things that is very important. So, it says here, no, a sheriff or any law enforcement officer cannot legally retaliate against you for exercising your constitutional rights. Retaliation for asserting your rights, such as freedom of speech, due process, or protection against unlawful searches and seizures, is prohibited under both federal and state laws. Here's an overview: protections and what can happen if retaliation occurs. Potential federal charges is one of the outcomes. Licensing liberty. No state shall convert a liberty into a license and charge a fee, therefore. Murdoch versus Pennsylvania, that's case law. If the state converts a right liberty into a privilege, the citizen can ignore the license and fee and engage in the right liberty with impunity. That's Shuttlesworth versus City of Birmingham, Alabama case law. A car is a consumer goods. UCC 9-102A23. Consumer goods means goods that are unused or bought for use primarily for personal, family, or household purposes. You don't register your TVs, refrigerators, furniture, etc. So registration is not required for your consumer good, which is your car. Very interesting to use in the court. Very powerful. 18 U.S.C. 1341, frauds and swindles. This is what they do. Whoever having devised or intending to devise any scheme or to defraud or obtaining money or property by means of false and fraudulent pretenses, representations, or promises, or to sell, dispose, or loan, exchange, alter, give away, distribute, supply, or furnish, or procure for unlawful use, with the court's limited authority, or the lack thereof, with or without our consent. They have a nerve to make a strong policy and interpret it as law. MCR 8.115, there shall be no recording of court proceedings without the judge's or referee's permission. We already know that they're crooked. We already know that they're scheming against the American people, victimizing their guests as they come into their courtrooms, maritime courts. And now they don't want you to record it. They already don't want to give you the full truth. And they want to lead you up into a lie, deceive you. But they don't want you to record them deceiving you. Very interesting, right? Against 18 U.S.C. 242. It's a conspiracy against your rights. They are out to get the American people. Now, this go right along with MCR 8.108E1, LAO 2020-03, MCR 8.119H. Just their policies that it keeps you trapped into not getting justice or the justice you need. Again, because what if you need those materials to start your appeal against the courts? Yeah. Then there's a big fight to get the recordings that they do because they want to say it's theirs and not yours, even though you could be the plaintiff in the case. So again, 18 U.S.C. 2076 is a law that states that whoever, being a clerk, willfully refuses or neglects to make or forward any report, certificate, statement, or document as required by law shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 1 year or both. They love to mess with evidence. This is what it basically goes down to, evidence, video evidence, recordings, keeping you from recording, all has to do with evidence. It's like they don't get that, do they? This lack of justice, this lack of equity, this lack of accountability, transparency. Is this what America has become? I'm only saying that for some of us who may not understand it fully. But I know that it always been this way, right? Think about it. The country can vote yes, we'll give the LGBTQ people their rights. Yes. The abortion people. Yes. We'll give the abortion people their rights. Yes. Reparations? No. Government accountability? Government accountability? Stop unconstitutional policies? No. And those who vote in that way, just know that we are not the same. There's a lot more to be fighting for than LGBTQ and abortionist rights. A lot more. A lot more that's needed, a lot more that can give us wealth, a lot more that can change society, that can save the world, right? Get the poor people off the streets. It is the American people's right to form legal militias against a tyrannical government. It is our right. Abraham Lincoln said the people are the rightful masters of both Congress and the courts, not to overthrow the Constitution, but to overthrow the men who pervert it. Let's always remember that, folks. Let's always remember that.
James Chandler is a young activist in Detroit, Michigan, who is responsible for this documentary in order to air his grievances and seek justice for the lack of liberties extended to him and many others by our government officials. James has been on a journey to fight for justice ever since he was kidnapped from his car by police and threatened to be tased while in handcuffs during detainment, which led to an error in the judicial system at the 36th District Court and the dismissal of his lawsuit case against them, claiming he was not under their jurisdiction. Cases 231-55302 and 24-008674-CZ were dismissed unconstitutionally. Despite this, he has been subject to fines, tickets, and a suspension of his license, all of which have been dealt with. However, he has not received payment for the dismissed cases or the perjury committed by the court, whom he's pursuing at this time. The Judicial Tenure Commission in Detroit, Michigan is guilty for allowing judicial misconduct. James has tirelessly reached out to the government, the media, and anyone who would listen, providing countless evidence and information in an effort to rectify the injustices he has faced. Yet he feels his pleas have fallen on deaf ears, and he has seen no change. James is standing up, saying enough is enough, and he wants to amplify his voice and hold the government accountable for the injustices, brutalities, racism, treason, and acts of disgrace that plague our society. It is time for a change. His documentary is a complaint report, exposing the acts of treason committed by the judicial system and certain governmental officials. These officials are blatantly disregarding the rights of we, the people of America, and are acting in a manner that can only be described as terrorist in nature. These officials have continuously undermined our constitutional rights and have willfully ignored their duty as servants of the people. They have refused to adhere to the red flag law and have continued to terrorize the American people by their actions. It is clear that they do not care about the well-being and rights of the citizens they are supposed to serve. Furthermore, these officials have committed treason by sending our hard-earned money overseas to foreign countries, instead of using it to benefit the American people, and countless other violations. These acts of treason is a blatant disregard for the trust that we, the people, have placed in our government officials.